So the official title is High ROI Health Strategies for Time-Poor Professionals, aka how we get people like Logan, Sachin, and Kevin to live longer while helping them get seriously sexy. Originally, I wanted to print these pictures out on like massive 2-meter stand-up banners, but it might have been a little bit too much. Gigi would have thrown me out, so I just went for the budget option instead. So basically, we're going to talk about how people like our clients or like you that have actual lives, social lives, drinking schedules, meals out, that cannot commit to full-time bodybuilding, that cannot invest 6 hours a week into exercise, still live longer and get in better shape. I was also told not to sell today, not to tell you that we are the best in the business, not to show you our portfolio of successful client results, but instead give you immediately actionable tips that you can just go home with and implement. So I broke everything down into 8 categories, and I will give you the highest return on investment things that you can implement within these categories, hopefully things that you haven't necessarily heard about before. Now, this will not be a muscle building and fat loss presentation, but a lot of it will revolve around body composition, because science is very clear on the fact that if you have a little bit more muscle, if you're at a healthy body fat percentage, your longevity will go up. So the first category is sleep, the first pillar. This is the big multiplier. Whether your goal is to have more energy, be fitter, have more muscle, lose some body fat, your sleep quality will always determine how easy it is for you to get there. So if there's someone that is very dialed in on their training and nutrition, but not as much on their sleep, they will have a harder time reaching their goal than someone who is a little bit more relaxed about training and nutrition, but sleeps very well. When it comes to sleep, it's not only consistent duration, but consistent bedtime and wake-up time that's also equally as important. So now it turns out we don't not only have to sleep 7 to 9 hours, we have to do it roughly around the same time as well. It's very disappointing. A colder room will always be easier to fall asleep in, and so will a darker room, because it's very important for your brain that the light or lack of light coming from outside signals whether it's time to be awake or asleep. So it's equally important that you expose yourself to this beautiful UK daylight throughout the day as well. We recommend that our clients take a 9-hour caffeine cutoff before bed. And when I say our clients throughout this presentation, I just don't want to be preachy. I don't want to be like, you should do this. So just when you hear our clients, just think about people that are busy, cannot go full-time into fitness, but still want to benefit some out of it. So we recommend a 9-hour caffeine cutoff. The half-life of caffeine is 7 hours. So that means if you drink a coffee at 5 p.m., at midnight you will still have half of it circulating in your system, and it will not help you fall asleep. And then lastly, with our most open-minded clients, we implement mouth taping. This is what you can see on the picture. And our team of coaches religiously do this because we find that it helps with lowering your resting heart rate by promoting nose breathing. What it doesn't help as much with is getting some action in bed.
I've actually got some here.
Really? If anyone wants to not get some action in bed, there's the tool. Okay, this is the tough part. This is not super interesting, but it's very valuable, so if you can keep up with me. I put it pretty early on in the presentation, just to make sure that it cannot get any worse later on. So this is how most people, I think, in this room, as well as before they sign up with us, train. All you need to know is every color is a different muscle group and every rectangle is a different exercise. So this person trains 3 exercises for chest on a Monday, and then 2 exercises of triceps, back and biceps on Tuesday, legs on Thursday, Friday is shoulders and arms. And this is all good until this person has to take a flight on a Monday and they will not have trained their chest for 2 weeks consecutively. The other problem is the more consecutive exercises you do for the same muscle group, the more you accumulate fatigue. So the performance will keep getting lower. So let's say if this is a barbell press into a dumbbell press into a chest fly, every exercise will get a little bit worse because you're accumulating more fatigue throughout. So the first thing that we implement with almost all our clients, I think in maybe 300 clients, we maybe had 2 or 3 that we didn't immediately do this with, which is putting them on a full body training program, which means every day they go to the gym, they train a little bit of everything. Every muscle gets targeted every single day. So now this person trains their chest 3 times as many times as the previous person. They only have 1 exercise for each muscle group. So their total output across the week, if it's still the same, barbell press, dumbbell press, chest fly, will be higher because every time they train, they will be going into these exercises fresh. And if you only have one exercise per muscle group per day to target, you better learn to get the most out of it. And this is where your next level unlocks in terms of training, which is when our clients learn to get more comfortable with those last 2 or 3 harder, slower reps, when most people just quit and finish the set. Instead, they accept consciously that that is just an indicator that the end of the set is near. And at that point, they do 2 or 3 more reps. And this is how we get people with significant training history of, let's say, 5 to 10 years, lose body fat and at the same time build muscle with these 2 tips of spreading their training out to full body as well as getting comfortable with the last 2 or 3 reps. If you structure your training like this, you will not need more than roughly 1 hour per session. If you need more than 1 hour, you're either doing work that doesn't need to be done, you're socializing, which is fine if you're fine with it, and potentially just scrolling on your phone. Once again, thank you for sticking with me throughout the hard part. The next pillar is cardio/baseline activity. Now, this is very good for you. Science is very clear on the fact that if you circulate your blood a little bit more, get your heart pumping, just exist at a little bit elevated heart rate throughout your day and get some movement in, your life expectancy will go up. But this is not always very realistic to heavily rely on for people like you or our clients. We cannot realistically expect you to spend an extra 2-3 hours suddenly in the gym doing low intensity cardio. And a lot of you are the type of people, the type A people that just aren't really suited for low intensity cardio anyway, because you want to just crush it. If you're doing cardio, it needs to be high intensity as well. You get to sweat. So the main thing for our clients is nailing the adherence. So whatever they can stick with is best. Something low entry barrier will always be easier to stick with, obviously. So if you can take a walk while doing a phone call, it will always be easier than committing to a spin class. If you can set up a work environment when you have a standing desk with a walking pad, it will be easier than, taking up Barry's bootcamp, for example. And the next one is the enjoyment part of it. So I hate it when personal trainers are like, oh, you shouldn't be running because it's too high impact. If you enjoy running and it helps you get in shape and be healthier, then just keep running. What can also contribute to the enjoyment side of things is the social aspect of it. I think this is why people love padel these days, because it's just easy to integrate into your life. The next pillar is habits. Within habits, I want to make 2 subcategories, the environment and the habit loop. Dan Ariely, smart guy, said our real power resides not in resisting temptation, but in choosing, and I would say managing, our environment. So I personally have this goal of not being as much on social media, just like not doom scrolling Instagram. But when I have that goal, I know that I'm competing with this sexy man. This is Zuckerberg, if anyone doesn't recognize him. I'm competing with his resources. I'm competing with the talent he hires, some of the smartest people in the world. And their goal is that I do spend more time on social media. So I'm not going to be like, let me just exercise my willpower and not be on my phone. Let me just outsmart this guy. Instead, I have this budget solution. It's not even budget. It's a complete ripoff. It's like 50 pounds for this box. But it's a time lock box where I can just put my phone and lock it in there for the entire day. And all I need is one strong moment in the morning. I lock it away and I don't have to think about it for the next 8 hours. Similarly, this guy, Odysseus, wasn't like, let me just practice my willpower today. I'm totally not going to jump into the sea. He just tied himself to the mast and everyone had a good time. So I just wish that more people, instead of blaming their willpower being weak, engineer their environments in ways that it promotes desired behaviors and prevents undesired ones. And the next one is the habit loop itself. This is how every habit takes place. So there's a cue or a trigger, something that triggers an action or routine that takes place in order to get a certain reward or outcome. And often you will find, not often actually, sometimes you will find that you can just isolate the cue, and if you eliminate it, you can get rid of the whole habit taking place. So let's say if I'm back on social media and my social media feed is all fine dining restaurants and I don't want to spend as much money and eat out as much, then if I tinker with my algorithm a little bit and don't get as many of these kind of posts, then I don't get this habit triggered as much. But most of the time, you won't find that eliminating the cue is this easy. So let's take the example of someone having the 4 p.m. syndrome. So it's 4 p.m., you're sitting at your desk, you're this nice mix of bored, frustrated, and snackish. And seemingly the only solution is standing up from your desk, removing yourself, going to the shop or the cafeteria, interacting with some people there or chatting with some colleagues, and ending up with a pastry in your hand and then soon thereafter in your tummy. Let's say you don't want to keep having the pastry. Eliminating the cue is not a very realistic target here, because you feeling frustrated in that moment is the cue. So what you can do next is identifying the reward itself. So for example, in this sequence, what was the reward? Is it that the energy you get from the pastry? Is it the flavor of the pastry? Is it that you get to remove yourself from this frustrating environment we call work? Or is it that you get to interact with people? And you can keep playing out this sequence every day when it occurs at 4 p.m. and you can isolate different aspects of this sort of habit bundle. So let's say next time it occurs, instead of going to the shop, you can just take a walk and go somewhere completely different. And when you return to your table, you can check whether your craving has been satisfied or not. If yes, then removing yourself from the environment was the reward. If not, you can keep experimenting. Maybe you just do the socializing. Maybe you pick up a piece of fruit, see if it's the energy that you're looking for. And most of the time, people will find that it's either removing themselves from that environment that they're looking for or socializing, but not necessarily the pastry itself. Is just something that got bundled up in that sequence. So here as well, I think most people should understand how this works and how our brains create these habits, as opposed to just accepting things happening to us. Next up is nutrition. When someone signs up with us and their goal is fat loss, the first thing we do is tweaking their nutrition. We are not there to overhaul. You already know that if you ate chicken breast and broccoli 4 times a day, you would be shredded, but you would also be miserable. So instead, our goal is to change their food little enough that they can still stick with it, but enough that it starts producing a change. What change? We will talk about that later. And for most people, this will mean more protein, more vegetables, and more fruit. Now, probably the most number one tip for you today that's very actionable and very valuable. A lot of you eat like this. 2 eggs with smoked salmon for breakfast maybe, a salad with chicken thigh for lunch, a steak with vegetables, and if I'm feeling really hungry, potatoes for dinner. Or potentially, you bring the salmon for dinner and you have porridge in the morning instead. Now, this is nice, this is healthy, this is good, but if you look across the day, everything that you consider protein has a lot of fat in it as well. So if you sometimes, it doesn't need to be always, but if you sometimes swap your fattier protein sources to leaner options, such as chicken breast, turkey breast, leaner fishes like cod, tuna, sea bass, sea bream, other seafood options like prawns, or if we want to stay with the steak category, maybe leaner cuts like rump or fillet, you will find that you can have the same amount of food on your plate. You will be equally full. You will not get any hungrier, but you're consuming fewer calories. I think filling yourself up and being able to eat a large volume of food is a very important part when it comes to long-term diet success, because the less you suffer, the less hungry you are, the easier it is to stick with a plan in the long run.
What are your thoughts on the fattier type of protein? Because you have a lot of people out there that are passionate about how good fats are, and kind of sometimes perceived as a worse thing than it is. Sometimes, what do you personally think?
So thank you for the question. Fats are essential for you. So you literally cannot cut them out. And you have very good sources and you have potentially less good sources. So even people that argue for fats being important, they're likely not encouraging you to have more chicken thigh or more ribeye, right? They probably encourage a different sort of fat source, more mono and polyunsaturated fats like fatty fish, avocados, certain nuts, olive oil, right? So they are healthy, but they also contain a lot of calories. And if your goal is to lose some body fat and potentially get leaner, then you will have to restrict calories to a certain extent, and it will be easier if you sort of limit or keep an eye on your fat sources. Does that help? Thank you. Next up, I cannot believe that I have to say this, but fruit is a life hack. Like, it's good for you. Eat more fruit. A lot of people don't have an easy time falling in love with vegetables, understandably, because they're kind of yucky. And instead, if you want the same micronutrients, phytonutrients, fiber, you can just incorporate more fruit and it tastes nice as well. I think that's why some people are suspicious, because like, oh, this tastes nice, how can it be good for you? It is good for you. So eat more fruit.
So on that, some people say too much fruit can be bad because it's naturally occurring sugars, but too much sugar in fruit. So what would you say to that? Because you obviously believe in that.
If you ate 20 bananas a day, you'd probably end up.
Yeah, 20 might be excessive. It depends. I think what you're pushing out of your diet in order to make space for the 20 bananas will matter, right? If we're just not talking about 20 bananas, but just like normal measures, probably all the vitamins, minerals, fiber, all the good stuff outweighs the some naturally occurring sugar that is in there. Like 20 bananas up a stone. I don't know many people that are like, oh my God, I'm so out of shape because I'm eating too much fruit, you know? And then lastly, with our clients, we recommend starting with consistency and then introducing variety. So figuring out a structure that works and only then mixing it up. If you constantly keep mixing things up and adding in more things and varying things around, it will be hard to figure out a structure that works. And if we're talking about variety, it nicely segues us into digestion. This is the other big multiplier. Same as sleep was, a better gut health will always result in more energy, more consistent energy, fewer cravings, and a higher metabolism. So you will be able to lose body fat on higher food if you have a larger beneficial diversity in your stomach. I'm sure we've all heard the Native American story of the Cherokee Indian guy telling the grandson that there's a battle between two wolves inside all of us. One is a bit of an ass, it's anger, jealousy, greed. The other one is a cutie pie. It's joy, love, hope, happiness. And the grandson says, and which wolf wins? And grandpa says, it's the one you feed. Mic drop, grandpa out of the room. So it's very similar when it comes to digestion as well, because there's an eternal battle inside of us between beneficial bacteria and what we call dysbiotic, or what I like calling them more is opportunistic bacteria. Opportunistic because it means if there's an opportunity for them to be there, if they are being fed, they will prevail, which is the same as whichever you feed will win. The good guys enjoy more fiber and plant stuff. The bad guys thrive on more simple sugars, simple carbs, again, simple sugars. So this is why it's important that when we talk about fruit, for example, it's more complex and it's wrapped in a bundle of good stuff as well. Simple sugars, simple carbs, and more processed foods. The good guys are also kind of picky, just like you and I are. So some of them only like sweet potato. Other ones only like quinoa. Yet other ones maybe just spinach. So the larger variety of plant matter you keep in your diet, the larger variety of beneficial microbiome you will have inside, and the larger variety and or population size, the less resources remain for the bad actors, because they are always competing for limited resources and limited space. Next up, super boring, supplementation. But because the topic is high return on investment, the time investment of supplements is zero. So if that's zero and you get a nice benefit out of them, that's a super high ROI. So we always recommend the high quality omega-3. Omega-3 is a very fragile compound. Heat and light can easily oxidize it. So when I say high quality, it's not Holland and Barrett style. It can also be polluted with heavy metals. So the brand we recommend is Jarrow. We're not associated with them in any way. I just wanted to make it easier for you to Google. The next supplement that we recommend to everyone is magnesium, again from a highly bioavailable source. So not something that just makes you have diarrhea, like magnesium oxide is genuinely rust, that's why it's oxide. Or magnesium citrate, what we recommend biglycinate. Next category is creatine, which is the best studied supplement for strength and muscle building, as well as having some cognitive benefits to it with zero side effects. Next up is K2 for cardiovascular health, and lastly NAC, or some people call it NAC, for digestion, liver health, detox, and antioxidant production. We also have a controversial recommendation of not necessarily having whey protein. Now, protein powder is not magic muscle building juice. It's literally a supplement. So a lot of people, we talked about fullness, right? And how it's contributing to long-term diet success because it allows you to eat more, be fuller, total calories go down. So if you can instead eat your protein sources, You will be fuller, and we only recommend supplementing with a powder if you literally cannot eat from a fullness or time perspective enough to hit your protein target. And then lastly, similar to how you wouldn't set a business goal or a personal finance goal without determining some key metrics to improve on, I think when someone goes on a fitness endeavor, they don't necessarily set tangible goals. So measuring your weight, activity, or gym performance is a good way to start, I think. And for our clients, there's a goal weight loss, when we're talking about fat loss, of losing anywhere between 0.5 to 1.5% body weight loss per week. So that means roughly 0.5 to 1.5 kilos actually. So if you're a smaller framed female, 60 kilos body weight, then you can expect anywhere between, let's say, 0.4, 0.5 kilos per week. And if you're a larger man, 100 kilos, you can expect 1 to 1.5 kilos per week. I think that's it. Yeah, I was David Mirza from Catalyst with a team of coaches in central London as well as online. Are there any more questions?
Yes, on the exercise part, I saw it like, I don't know if it's accurate, 3 hours of gym time. Is that right? You need to do 3 hours?
No.
Oh, sorry, I thought I saw.
I think I just used 3 hours a day, every single day. No.
More than 3 hours.
No. That's my mistake. No, I just scheduled it. I figured it's nice blocking it out in a calendar format. Thank you for asking. No, it's just every exercise is just one rectangle. But like I said, 1 hour is all it takes.
Right, so you do 3 workouts a week.
Yeah, so all our clients exercise between 3 to 4 hours a week in total. A lot of our clients don't do cardio because it's not very realistic for them to integrate it. But when they do, it's 3 training sessions and however much time they're willing to commit to in terms of cardio, and we keep them accountable to that, but we don't dictate, oh, you're supposed to be doing 2-3 hours, unless they ask for it. Thank you for the question. Sorry.
As for sets, because they're quite short, small, normal working gym weight, what types of like reps would you do in them sets?
Anywhere between probably 6 to 12. If you're a beginner, you probably just want to go through the motions and just get familiar with exercises. A higher rep range will probably be more suited to you. Whereas if you're more advanced, you're able to push a little bit harder, probably you can take it a little bit lower.
Is it to failure? Like you should be judging it like to failure.
Yeah, so last set.
The third set, 12 reps should be almost that's it. You can't do any more.
Literally, yeah, it should be at failure.
You gauge how heavy you should get.
Exactly. With beginner clients or people that don't actually have failure established yet, because you need to practice it to get good at it, right? We do recommend initially that maybe even the second set should be to failure, because even if they try, it doesn't necessarily get there.
For those of us that are unfortunate enough to be able to talk to you, I know we might not report. I'm told we're losing 10% of our muscle fat every day,
Muscle mass.
and it's unavoidable. So do you advocate for the others of us that are a little bit more senior in the room that we should push more to weights over cardio, given that hour we've got? I mean, do you think we should push more to weight training the older we get?
Yeah, that's exactly why we said that when we incorporate training, most of our clients is roughly 3 hours a week training, and if they can commit to any exercise cardio-wise on top of that, that's great. But weight training should be the foundation, whether you're a guy or a girl, because you have to sort of counteract the muscle loss as well as the bone density loss that comes with age.
And do you advocate weight training over body weight training?
So both of them are great actually, but often what you will find is that the benefits of training come from the incremental nature of it, that over time you can get incrementally stronger, and you have to be much smarter about how to make it incremental when you're training with body weight. So it's just much easier, especially for beginner people that potentially have a higher body fat and therefore total weight, to just go into the gym and potentially just like work their weights up in the weights.
And the last thing is, and I know nothing about fitness, as you can probably tell, free weights over machines. Is it always free weights better if you're going to do weight training?
So a lot of people argue that it's more functional to do free weights, but basically machines can stabilize you if you're not good at stabilizing yourself, right? And beginners, again, will often find that if they are left to their own devices, the weight can just go anywhere. Their movement patterns are not as ingrained yet, and if you constrain them in certain dimensions, basically, then it's easier to go to failure, like we said, and actually make the training more beneficial. So I often like starting people out with more machine-based stuff, and once they move better, once they're more efficient at training, then transition them over onto more free weights.
And how long will it take from start to, is there a period of time where you say, right, within this time frame, you'll see the transformation occur?
Oh, all these are under 6 months. Where are they?
Great, mine was 20 weeks. I lost 16 kilos. Or 20 weeks. Yeah. Do you mind actually if I just align to that? These guys have not asked me to do this. I wouldn't mind just, if I was saying, hey, do this, I haven't prepared anything at all. Yeah. I'm not
You're there.
Okay, there you go. I'm in the corner. So look, and I'll be a little bit vulnerable here. Those who know me, I am anyway. My mental health is linked quite seriously with my physical health, for reasons that I'll tell you another time. So I've trained a lot throughout my life anyway. I was introduced by Logan. I think Logan is like on another level of just human in terms of his skills. When he did it, I just thought that's pretty cool. Then the guy actually was on the first page, he's a rec, really high in rec that I know. I met him for lunch last year and he said, like, I've done this, like, this guy's quite normal like me. I could probably do this. And then signed up with them in like March, April time last year. To say that it is probably one of the top things I've ever done in my life. These guys are really, really humble people. Arcia was my guy, and I give credit to David, but Arcia, this chap here, has been my coach. I met him the first time at the photo shoot. It adapted, it was less intense. I realised that, it was my facts earlier, the adoption of the diet, I mean, actually I was living a much more fulfilled, enjoyable, nutritional life, coupled with actually the intensity of the workouts being nowhere I'd been used to. I was just killing myself with very little gain. So my journey started, I signed up to these guys, I started in May last year. I weighed 76.5 kilos. And then I think I was reasonably dedicated. I'm going to tell you one thing in a minute, which I'll laugh about, but reasonably dedicated. I had holidays in between. And then right through to the photo shoot, the 19th of October. So I went down to, on the day of the photo shoot, 60.55 kilos. And that was genuinely just through following everything that what these guys said. I smile because I, like some of you, occupational hazard, I like drinking, and I make no qualms about that. And I told the guys when they first were talking to me, but I live a very, very busy lifestyle with a lot of socializing. I enjoy my drink. I'm not going to stop drinking, so I'm not going to do it if you don't stop. They said, just be sensible, right? So I cut down a little bit. I still drank throughout the program. I just followed everything that they said. Incremental gains every single week. And when you start getting that momentum, the change that I saw, honestly, like up there with one of the best things I've ever done in my life. So if it's important to you, intrinsically linked to your mental health or not, or you're serious about it, honestly, I cannot recommend these. They're not paid me, they're not doing anything as a result.
We can't afford Sachin.
Genuinely couldn't advocate highly enough. So I just wanted to give my little story there.
Thank you.
Do you typically work like a 6-month program? Is that your?
Yeah, the minimum commitment is 12 weeks, but yeah, most of the time it's 6 months.
Result between 12
It depends on the starting position as well, right? Like if you're a not super out of shape guy that needs to lose anywhere between 7 to 10 kilos, that always fits into the 12 weeks, right? If you're a little bit larger, or you just want to maintain more freedom throughout your life. Like obviously even though we're tailoring this whole process to your lives, the more sacrifices you're willing to make, the quicker progress you will be making as well. So if you want to keep maximum enjoyment and maximum flexibility, then it will take a little bit longer. Thank you very much. Thank you.